replaced the companies that maintain these legacy technologies. So I'm always talking about database solutions in that context and those that maintain those. All right, so now we're getting to a lot of people's favorite topic for the wrong reason of the past year. So non-fungible tokens are one of the most important new paradigms being introduced after the introduction of the Bitcoin white paper. So the first non-fungible token was the ERC 721 that someone mentioned earlier. So that was specifically created by the folks at now Dapper that created CryptoKitties. We actually created NFTs before that. You can find this on the blockchain. I can share that link for our logo being imprinted on the blockchain later on if you're interested. So, but what NFTs are not about, really, it's not about OpenSea, it's not about CryptoPunks, it's not about digitally native assets like digital collectibles. It's all about ultimately real world economic activity. And so that's why it's important to repeat, what is the technology here? The technology is that of non-fungible tokens. And I skipped a little bit about this earlier, but every token is simply a standardized smart contract. So very similar to how your banknote is a standardized physical contract, token is a standardized smart contract. And so one of the most promising use cases for that, and I wrote several white papers about that. You will find one of them on Hacker Noon for the application of non-fungible tokens to the supply chain in auto manufacturing. But I'm going to walk you really quick through how supply chain works today. So you have an idea for a product, maybe you borrow some money for it, and let's say we're printing some grapes. And then once the grapes are ripe, you're fueling them, or you're filling them into bottles, you're creating an inventory list, you're putting this into a database, and you juggle that database information across the supply chain, handing over some bill of lading to some shipper, and he or she is maintaining their own data silo, and then ultimately it ends up at some store, and the POS system then prints out a receipt that you then get, and also you're getting this wine bottle. So what you don't get with your receipt is the history of what this bottle went through from its inception to where it is now. So if you translate this to an implementation using a non-fungible token, this could be looking something similar to this. So you have an idea for a product, you create a non-fungible token that represents this product, and we're going to stick with our example of grapes, and then we're going to start manufacturing grapes and monitoring these grapes while they are being bottled, attaching the metadata to that particular NFT, and maybe it's using a different blockchain that's more focused on the supply chain implementation, like Stella or something else. And ultimately, along the supply chain, you're handing off this particular non-fungible token, attaching metadata to that to ultimately, if you pick up that bottle, you're also getting the non-fungible token in your digital wallet with all the things that happened to the non-fungible token that's representing the real world asset, so that the shipper can check whether or not this particular bottle was always handled the right way. Maybe it was exposed to a temperature that's not conducive to the state of that particular wine, and it's spoiled at this particular moment in time, and you can reject it. Another example that we made specifically for the car supply chain is, right now, if there's a manufacturing defect, more often than not, what's happening is an entire line of cars is going to be recalled. There's rarely a year that goes by where you will not see an announcement that says, okay, we have to recall all Chryslers of this particular make because we found a fault in this particular part. And the reason that every single car is being recalled is because there's no nuances in the supply chain that would reliably be able to attribute the condition of particular cars and the connection to this particular part that was actually defect, i.e. you have a roll of sheet metal that had a certain defect and this sheet metal ended up building a dozen different car doors. So if you knew that, you only had to recall those 12 cars, but you're ending up recalling all these cars, which in many cases led to these companies being unprofitable for that year that this particular recall happened. So this is a one like very easy, I think, to understand use case for actual non-fungible tokens for this particular paradigm.